I'm going to be teaching you the very basics of how to begin crocheting, and that includes holding the hook, making a slip knot, holding the yarn, and making a chain stitch. So let's get started. The first thing is how to hold your hook. You can either hold it overhand, which is usually called knife grip. Put your thumb on the thumb rest and your other fingers above, or you can hold it pencil grip, which is just like it sounds. If you can practice with both grips and get good at both, if your hand or wrist gets tired as you're using one way, then you can just switch to the other way and save yourself some strain down the line. The next thing we need to do is to make a slip knot in order to get the yarn onto the hook to start. So take the short end of your yarn and 2 fingers, wrap this yarn back and then up and around to make an X, and then take this loop off your fingers and fold it down onto the yarn that's coming from the ball. This is the short end, this end's going to the ball of yarn. Now take your hook and put it under that piece in the middle and grab onto both ends of your yarn and pull that hook up. And then you can take the part that's going to the yarn and going to the ball of yarn and pull that up to make it snug. Don't make it too snug because we need to pull our hook through this space in the next steps. Next is how to hold your yarn. There's lots of ways to hold your yarn, and you may find that you like a different way better than mine, but for now I'll show you what I do. And that is, I take the yarn and wrap it front to back around my pinky finger and then up, and then front to back around my index finger like this. And then I'll take my thumb and middle finger and hold on to the yarn that's on the hook. Now this bit of the yarn here is what we're going to be working with, and you need to make sure that that is not too tight, not too loose, just right. And this is your tension. You want to make sure and maintain an even tension at all times so that your stitches are even and all come out the same size. So next let's work on a chain stitch. And in order to do that, first off we need to do a yarn over. And so you move your hook below the yarn so that the yarn goes over the hook from back to front. Be sure and not put your hook over the yarn. That's a different technique that's pretty rarely used. Unless a pattern specifically says so, we're always going to want to do a yarn over. So put your hook under the yarn to create a yarn over. And now make sure that your hook is facing down or slightly towards you, and pull it through the loop that's on the hook. And again, be sure and pull it up enough that there's some space there to work our next stitches. So yarn over and pull through. And be sure and pull your stitches all the way up onto the barrel of your hook. If you create them way down here by the hook, if your hook is slightly tapered like mine is, it will be smaller and hard to push up onto the barrel later, and there are some stitches where you'll need your stitch up on the barrel to create them properly. So just get in the habit right away of moving each stitch all the way up onto the barrel of the hook. So now let's stop and look at what we've made. Each of the stitches we've made has this V shape. So when we're counting them, we're going to ignore the one that's on the hook because it's not completed yet. But let's count these V's. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. We've created 7 chain stitches. Can we actually turn that over and look at the back? And you can see these dashes on the back side. If you find those easier to see, you can also count from the back. And now I just want to point out, when you get ready to do additional rows and different stitches, you're going to insert your hook under some of these stitches when you do that. There's any combination of ways to do that, whether it's the left leg of the V, the right leg of the V, the dash on the back, or any combination of, but I want to show you the two most common ways. And that is to either put your hook so that you have two legs of the V on top of the hook and the dash on the back, or you can kind of turn the work over and insert your hook so that you have the dash on the top and the two legs of the V on the bottom. Unless your pattern specifies, you can do any of those techniques that you prefer. And now I just want to point out that you can also do chain spaces at other places in your pattern. And here's a couple examples of that. Here I've made a bit of a star flower with chains after the beginning of the work. And here I've made this kind of like a buttonhole shape. And these spaces that are created by making chains are called chain spaces. And I just want to briefly show you how that would work. I have here a little sample of a piece that I've made. And you can do a chain stitch right up into the air at any point in your work that is exactly like the one that we've just made. And then I can continue on with my stitches here. And that is everything there is to know about beginning crochet.